The desert planet of Vexeranine stretched endlessly under a pale orange sky. Sand dunes rolled like waves, and jagged rock formations jutted out from the ground like broken teeth. Among this harsh, empty world, a lone human pilot named Ethan guided his small hovercraft over the scorching sands. He had been stranded here for days, ever since a storm had damaged his ship's engines. Supplies were low, and the wind carried a fine dust that made every breath burn. Ethan's eyes scanned the horizon. Something was off. He could feel it. He had been alone for too long, and the silence of the desert was deafening. Then, faintly he heard it, a soft, trembling sound, almost like a whisper. He froze. It was a child crying. Cautiously, he followed the sound across the dunes. Each step sank into the soft sand, slowing him down. As he climbed over a ridge, he saw the ruins of an ancient alien city. Towering spires of metal and crystal lay broken, half buried in the sand. The wind whistled through the empty corridors, carrying the faint sound of crying deeper into the ruins. "Hello?" Ethan called softly. "Is someone there?" The crying stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then a tiny voice, barely audible, said, "Don't come closer." Ethan's heart raced. He had faced hostile aliens before, but this voice, it sounded scared, innocent. He crouched behind a broken wall and peered through the gap. There, huddled in a shadowed corner, was a small alien child. Her skin was pale blue, her hair a silvery white, and her large glowing eyes were wide with fear. She looked no older than 6 in human terms, and she trembled from cold or maybe terror or both. Ethan raised his hand slowly. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. "My name is Ethan. What's your name?" The girl hesitated. Her eyes darted around, as if searching for someone or something. I don't have a name," she whispered. I'm alone." Alone. Ethan's chest tightened. He had seen death and destruction across galaxies, but there was something different about this moment. This child was not just lost. She was invisible to the world, forgotten. He stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "It's okay," he said. "You're not alone anymore. I'll help you." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Help me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You can help me?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, but we have to move. This place is not safe." The girl looked around nervously. Behind her, shadows seemed to shift in the ruins, and Ethan could hear faint metallic clanging in the distance. Something or someone was coming. I can't leave my home," she said, her voice shaking. Ethan crouched down to her level. "This isn't safe anymore. If we stay, you might get hurt. Trust me." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then slowly, she reached out her small hand. Her fingers were delicate, almost fragile, and her skin glowed faintly in the dim light. Ethan took it gently, feeling a strange warmth pass through him. "Thank you," she whispered. Together, they moved through the ruined city, Ethan guiding her over broken bridges and through crumbling corridors. The wind howled louder now, and the shadows seemed to follow them. The girl clung to him, her small hand gripping his tightly. Finally, they reached the edge of the ruins. From here, Ethan could see the dunes stretching endlessly, but for the first time, he didn't feel the crushing weight of loneliness. There was someone beside him who needed him, and he would protect her. The girl looked up at him, her glowing eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. She whispered, "Will you be my dad?" Ethan froze. Her words were innocent, almost naive, but they struck a chord deep inside him. He didn't know the answer yet, but he knew one thing: he couldn't leave her alone again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in shades of deep orange and purple, Ethan and the alien girl began their first step toward safety. Neither of them knew what dangers lay ahead, but for the first time in days, they were not alone. Somewhere in the shadows of the ruins, faint eyes watched them. Someone or something had noticed the human and the alien child, and it was not pleased that the desert night of Vexeranine was colder than Ethan expected. The orange sky had faded to deep purple, and the wind now carried a biting chill. He could hear the faint hissing of shifting sands around him. The alien girl's hand gripped his tightly, her small fingers trembling. "We have to move fast," Ethan whispered. "Something is coming." The girl's glowing eyes widened. "Coming? Who?" she asked, fear quivering in her voice. "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But we can't stay here." They ran across the sand, shadows stretching behind them. Broken metal spires jutted up like jagged teeth from the dunes. Ethan kept glancing back. In the distance, he could see faint red lights blinking search drones, probably. Someone or something was hunting them. The girl whispered softly, I'm scared." Ethan forced a small smile. "I know, but I'm here. I won't let anything hurt you." They reached a ruined bridge that arched over a deep canyon. Pieces of it had collapsed, leaving gaps that could swallow them whole. Ethan crouched down, testing each step before moving forward. "Hold my hand tight," he said. The girl nodded, clinging to him like her life depended on it, which, in a way, it did. Halfway across, the ground shook beneath them. Dust and debris fell from the bridge. Ethan froze. From the darkness below, he saw the massive silhouette of a desert predator, 4 legs, armored scales, glowing eyes, and jagged horns. It roared, the sound echoing across the canyon. The girl screamed, clutching him even tighter. Ethan knew they couldn't fight it here. He grabbed her in one arm and sprinted the rest of the way, jumping the last gap as the bridge trembled and cracked behind him. They hit the sand hard but rolled safely to the other side. That was close," Ethan panted, trying to catch his breath. The girl's wide eyes glowed brighter in the dark. It would have eaten me," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan said gently. "But we're safe now." For a little while, he scanned the horizon. Through the dunes, he saw the faint outline of his hovercraft. It had survived the storm, but looked battered. With the girl on his back, he ran toward it. The drone lights were closer now, and the predator's roars echoed behind him. Every second counted. They reached the hovercraft. Ethan pushed the girl inside and started the engines. Sparks flew, and the machine groaned. Behind them, the desert predator charged, sand exploding around its massive legs. The drones hovered closer, red sensors scanning. "Hold on," Ethan shouted. He slammed the throttle. The hovercraft lifted off the sand, wobbling dangerously. The predator leaped, smashing a nearby rock, but Ethan veered sharply, and it missed. The drones followed, firing pulses of energy. Ethan ducked, maneuvering the craft over jagged rocks and dunes. The girl's eyes glowed brighter as she peered out. We're flying," she whispered, awe replacing fear. "Yes," Ethan said, gripping the controls. "And we're not stopping until we're far away." As they cleared the canyon, the wind hit the hovercraft with full force. Ethan spotted a cave system along the cliffs, a possible hiding place. He adjusted the controls and dove inside. The drones hesitated at the entrance, unable to follow into the narrow tunnels. Inside the cave, the hovercraft touched down. Ethan slumped in his seat, exhausted. The girl slid off his back and sat beside him, hugging her knees. "You saved me," she said softly. Ethan smiled, tired but relieved. "We saved each other," he said. The girl tilted her head, glowing eyes studying him. "Who are you?" she asked. "Why do you care about me?" Ethan sighed. "I've seen a lot in my life, but I've never seen anyone so small and brave. Alone in this world. I can't just leave you." The girl's lips curved into the faintest smile. It was brief, but something in it made Ethan's chest tighten. He didn't know why, but he felt a strange connection with her, as if meeting her had changed something inside him. Outside the cave, the desert was quiet again, but Ethan knew it wouldn't last. Somewhere in the darkness, enemies were watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. They couldn't stay here long. "We need to find a safe place," Ethan said, brushing sand from his jacket. "Somewhere they can't follow us. Somewhere you'll be safe." The girl nodded. I want to go with you, she said quietly. Ethan looked at her glowing eyes, full of trust. Then we'll go together, he said. And with that, they prepared to leave the cave, stepping into a desert night full of danger, but also, for the first time, full of hope. The stars above Vexeranine sparkled like diamonds in the endless night. Ethan's hovercraft glided silently across the desert, carrying the tiny alien girl safely in the back. The desert planet had given them danger, but space offered freedom, or so Ethan hoped. The girl, who had started calling herself Lyra, pressed her face against the transparent canopy, watching the stars streak past. Her glowing eyes reflected the constellations. Humans. Do you always travel so fast? She asked, her voice soft but curious. Ethan chuckled, not always. But when you're being chased by giant desert predators and drones, you learn to move fast. Lyra tilted her head. Why do you care about me? You barely know me. Ethan looked at her small face, illuminated by the soft console lights. Because I know what it's like to be alone. And I can't leave someone alone if I can help it. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Then, without warning, the hovercraft shuddered. Red warning lights flashed. What now? Ethan muttered. He checked the control panel. Sensors showed a fleet of unknown ships approaching fast, small, sleek, and dangerous. Someone or some group was determined to get Lyra back. Hang on, he shouted. He gripped the controls tighter, weaving through the asteroid belt above the planet. The ships fired, energy blasts streaking past, narrowly missing the hovercraft. Lyra screamed and held onto the seat. Ethan's mind raced. They're fast, but so are we. I just need a plan. Lyra's glowing eyes widened. They want me? Yes, Ethan said grimly. You're important. I don't know why yet, but people are willing to kill for you. The girl's small hands clenched into fists. I don't want anyone to hurt you. Ethan smiled faintly. Then we'll keep moving. Together. Hours passed as they navigated through the asteroid belt. Ethan took detours, hiding in shadows, avoiding patrols, and making use of ancient space debris as cover. Lyra watched him with awe. She had never met a human like him, someone willing to risk everything for her. Finally, they reached a quiet region near a small, uncharted planet. Ethan landed the hovercraft in a hidden canyon. They stepped out, stretching cramped limbs. The planet was rocky but calm, a temporary haven. Lyra touched the ground cautiously, feeling the rough stones. It's quiet here, she whispered. Yes, Ethan said. For now, but we can't stay too long. They'll find us. The girl's eyes glowed softly. I want to tell you something. Ethan knelt to meet her gaze. What is it? I can remember things about my family. My planet, my home, she said, her voice trembling. I was supposed to do something important. Ethan listened carefully. Something important? Like what? Lyra shook her head. I don't know yet. But I feel powerful, strange powers. I think I can do things humans can't. Ethan's eyebrows rose. Powers? Like what? Before she could answer, a sudden vibration shook the ground. Ethan grabbed his blaster instinctively. From behind the rocks, faint figures appeared, alien scouts, smaller than the predator from Vexeranine, but clearly hostile. They were armed, moving carefully, scanning the area. They found us, Ethan whispered. Lyra's glowing eyes brightened. Then, let me try, Ethan frowned. Try what? The girl stepped forward, raising her hands. A soft hum filled the air, and the rocks around them trembled slightly. The alien scouts froze, their weapons lowering as if invisible chains held them. Slowly they fell back, confused and unable to move. Ethan stared. You did that? Lyra nodded, her small chest rising and falling. I don't know how. I just wanted to protect us. Ethan smiled, a mix of awe and relief washing over him. Then we'll need to learn how to control this. Together. As the alien scouts retreated, Ethan realized something. This girl was not just a child. She was a key to something bigger, something that could change the galaxy. And he had promised to protect her. They settled near the rocky cliffs, looking up at the stars. Lyra rested against Ethan, exhausted but safe. "Thank you for not leaving me," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "I told you we're in this together. No one gets left behind." The night was calm, but Ethan knew it wouldn't last. Somewhere in the galaxy, enemies were plotting, waiting, and watching. The journey had just begun, and the bond between human and alien child would be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. But for now, they had each other. And that was enough. The small rocky planet they had landed on seemed quiet. Ethan knew better. In the galaxy, peace was always temporary. Lyra clung to him as he led her deeper into a canyon, the rocks forming a natural tunnel. The walls were jagged, but the shadows provided cover. This was a perfect place for a temporary base, a hidden refuge where they could rest, repair the hovercraft, and plan their next move. Ethan found a small cave entrance half hidden by boulders. "This will do for now," he said. "We can stay here until we figure out where to go next." Lyra's eyes glowed softly as she stepped inside. "It feels safe here," she whispered. Her voice carried a note of relief, but also curiosity. "Why are you helping me so much?" Ethan shrugged. "I've seen what happens when someone is alone in this galaxy. You can't survive on your own, and I couldn't just leave you out there." The girl looked at him silently, as if trying to understand the weight of his words. For a moment, they sat quietly in the dim cave, the only sound the soft hum of the hovercraft's engines as Ethan worked to repair them. Hours passed. Lyra explored the cave cautiously, her glowing eyes lighting up hidden corners. That's when she found it a small wall panel with ancient alien markings. She pressed her tiny hands against it, and a faint holographic projection appeared, showing a family of aliens. Lyra gasped. They're my family," she whispered. Her voice shook. They were taken." Ethan came closer, kneeling beside her. "Taken? By who?" "I don't know," she said. Tears began to well in her glowing eyes. "But I think I was supposed to stay with them. I was supposed to do something important. Something big." Ethan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure it out. And we'll make sure nothing happens to you." Suddenly, the cave floor trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling, and small rocks tumbled down. Ethan's eyes darted to the entrance. Shadows moved across the rocks outside. Alien scouts had found them again. This time, they were prepared and organized, searching every corner of the canyon. "Lyra, stay close," Ethan said, gripping his blaster. The girl nodded, stepping behind him. The scouts entered the cave slowly, weapons raised. Ethan's mind raced. There were too many to fight head-on. But Lyra, she had powers. "Lyra," he whispered, "can you help me?" The girl took a deep breath. She raised her hands, and a soft hum filled the cave. Rocks trembled, and a faint blue glow surrounded her. The scouts froze, their weapons stopping mid-air as if invisible chains held them. Slowly, they were pushed backward, stumbling, unable to move forward. Ethan's eyes widened. You did it again." Lyra nodded, her small chest rising and falling with effort. I think I can control it better now." The scouts, confused and frightened, retreated. Ethan quickly barricaded the cave entrance with large boulders, giving them precious minutes to catch their breath. "You're amazing," Ethan said quietly, looking at her glowing face. "But we need to practice and control this. Otherwise, someone will get hurt." Lyra nodded, still trembling. "I don't want to hurt anyone. Except the ones who hurt my family." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's fair. But right now, we survive, then we figure out the rest." For the first time since the desert, Lyra relaxed a little. She sat beside Ethan, looking at the holographic images of her family. "I will find them," she whispered. "I will bring them back." Ethan nodded. "And I'll help you. No matter what it takes." Outside the cave, the galaxy was dark and dangerous. Unknown enemies waited in the shadows, tracking them across the stars. But inside the cave, human and alien child rested for a moment, united by trust, courage, and a bond that neither of them fully understood yet. The galaxy was vast, full of threats, but also full of hope. And for Ethan and Lyra, hope was the only weapon stronger than fear. The night passed quietly. But somewhere, far above them, a distant signal blinked a warning. Someone powerful had noticed the human and the alien child. Their journey was only beginning, and the trials ahead would test them in ways neither could imagine. The hidden base was quiet, too quiet. Ethan had hoped the canyon cave would keep them safe for a few days, but he had learned long ago that in the galaxy, safety was always temporary. Lyra sat nearby, tracing the glowing markings of her family on the holographic wall panel. She seemed calm, but Ethan could feel her tension. Something was coming. "Lyra," Ethan said quietly, "we need to prepare." "They'll try again." The girl nodded, her glowing eyes determined. "I can help," she said softly. "I can make them stop." Ethan smiled faintly, but his mind was racing. He had taught her basic defense, but he didn't yet understand the full scope of her powers. If she pushed too hard, she might hurt herself or worse. They were cleaning and repairing the hovercraft when the first sign of betrayal appeared. A soft click echoed in the cave, almost like a signal. Ethan froze. He scanned the shadows. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Lyra nodded. "Someone is here." The cave entrance shifted, and a figure stepped out from the shadows. It was a human, a tall, lean man wearing a standard galactic uniform. Ethan's heart sank. "Commander Ral?" He muttered. Ral smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Ethan, I see you've found a companion." Ethan stood in front of Lyra instinctively. "Ral, what are you doing here?" "You're supposed to be helping us, not hunting us." Ral's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating look. "Helping? I have my orders. That child is valuable. Very valuable. I was told to bring her in by any means necessary." Lyra's eyes widened in shock. You're going to take me?" Ral shrugged. "I'm just doing my job." Ethan's blood boiled. "You've been lying to us this whole time, all this help." "It was a trap." Ral shook his head slowly. "Not exactly. I helped you. Yes, but only to keep her alive until she could be captured. Efficiency is important, Ethan." Lyra trembled, backing away. Ethan moved closer, shielding her with his body. "You won't get her," he said through gritted teeth. "Not while I'm alive." Ral raised a hand. "Then you leave me no choice." Before Ethan could react, Ral triggered a small device. The cave lights flickered, and a thin force field enclosed them. The rocks shook violently. Ethan could feel the energy pressing against him, trying to crush him. Lyra's hands glowed brightly as she instinctively countered the force. "No!" Ethan shouted. "Focus, Lyra. Don't let him hurt you or us." The girl's energy surged. The rocks trembled and lifted slightly from the cave floor. Ral staggered back, surprised by the sudden power, but he recovered quickly, raising a pulse blaster. "Impressive," he said coldly. "But not enough." Ethan realized that brute strength wouldn't work. He needed a distraction. "Lyra, we need to run. Follow me," he shouted. They dashed toward the back of the cave. Lyra's glow illuminated the narrow tunnels, the shadows dancing wildly across the walls. Ral pursued them, firing short energy blasts that hit rocks and sent debris flying. Suddenly, a portion of the cave collapsed behind them, triggered either by Ral or by Lyra's growing powers. Dust filled the air, and for a moment, it seemed the tunnel would trap them forever. But Ethan pushed forward, using every ounce of strength to pull Lyra along. Finally, they burst out of the cave into the open canyon. The desert night stretched endlessly before them, but they were alive. Lyra's chest heaved as she tried to calm herself, her glowing eyes flickering with exhaustion. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Ral betrayed us," he said quietly, "but we survived. That's what matters. And we'll be ready next time." Lyra looked up at him, her eyes shining. Next time, I'll be stronger. I'll protect us. Ethan smiled faintly, though his heart still pounded. Yes, we'll face him together. And whoever else comes for you. Above them, the stars sparkled silently. But Ethan knew that somewhere, Ral was sending reinforcements. Their journey was far from over. Trust had been broken, danger had grown, and the galaxy was watching. And for Ethan and Lyra, the fight for survival and for hope had only just begun. The galaxy was silent around them, but silence never meant safety. Ethan and Lyra had fled across asteroid fields, weaving through debris until they found a small, rocky moon. It was cold and barren, but for now, it offered cover. Ethan parked the hovercraft in a narrow crater and let them rest. Lyra sat beside him, her small hands glowing faintly. Her eyes were tired but determined. "Ethan," she whispered, "I can feel them. The ones who want me. They're close." Ethan's jaw tightened. "We knew this would happen sooner or later, but I promised I'd protect you." The girl nodded. "I know, but I think I can do more than just hide." Ethan looked at her cautiously. "What do you mean?" Lyra's glow intensified, illuminating the crater walls. "I can stop them, I can fight them. But it might hurt me, and I might not survive." Ethan froze. "No, I won't let you do that alone. We do this together." Before he could finish, the shadows came. A fleet of alien ships appeared in the moon's orbit, cutting off their escape. Small pods launched, landing around them with hissing thrusters. From each pod, armed soldiers emerged, scanning for movement. Lyra's small hands trembled, but her glowing eyes flared brighter. "They won't leave us alive," Ethan muttered, firing his blaster at the advancing soldiers. He moved instinctively to cover Lyra, but there were too many of them. Lyra stepped forward. "I can stop them," she shouted. "No," Ethan yelled, grabbing her. "You're too small, too young." But Lyra shook free. "I won't let them take you. I promised I'd protect us." Before Ethan could react, she raised her hands, and a wave of energy burst outward. The soldiers froze mid-step, some thrown back by the force. Rocks and dust lifted into the air, swirling around her like a small storm. Her glow was blinding, illuminating the moon's surface like a miniature sun. Ethan shielded his eyes, awed and terrified. "Lyra, control it," he shouted. The girl's energy surged uncontrollably. The hovercraft shook, and small blasts of power tore into the ground. She was fighting with everything she had, pushing the enemies back, keeping Ethan safe. But each moment drained her. Her glowing eyes flickered with exhaustion, and small sparks of energy leaped from her fingers. "Lyra," Ethan ran to her side. "Stop, you're going to hurt yourself." "No," she cried, "not until you're safe." A massive alien ship hovered above, preparing to fire a devastating beam. Lyra's energy shield flared higher, intercepting the blast. The force sent her tumbling backward. Ethan caught her, cradling her small body. She coughed, glowing faintly, her strength almost gone. I'm okay," she whispered, her voice weak. "Go. Finish the escape. You promised me." Ethan shook his head. "I promised we'd face this together. I'm not leaving you." Lyra smiled faintly, her glow dimming. "You have to survive. Even if I can't." Tears burned in Ethan's eyes. "No, don't say that. You're going to make it." The alien ship fired again. Lyra raised her hands one last time, creating a brilliant wave of energy that threw the ship off course, protecting both Ethan and the hovercraft. The blast was immense, shaking the moon, and then Lyra collapsed, exhausted, her glow fading until she was just a small, fragile figure in Ethan's arms. Ethan hugged her tightly, his chest aching. "Lyra, stay with me, please." She looked up at him, her eyes flickering faintly. You'll be okay. Ethan, thank you for everything, for not leaving me." Her tiny hand reached up, touching his cheek. Then she gave a final faint smile, her last gift of courage. Ethan sobbed quietly, holding her close. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of enemies, but in that moment, he realized something. Lyra's sacrifice had shown him the strength of trust, hope, and the bond between human and alien. The hovercraft engines roared to life. Ethan gently laid her inside, shielding her body as best he could. He didn't know if she would survive, but he would not abandon her. She had risked everything to protect him, and he would honor her courage by keeping the promise he had made. Outside, the stars continued to shine silently. Somewhere, the galaxy watched. And somewhere, enemies were regrouping. But one thing was clear: humanity, even in the smallest human, could inspire courage and sacrifice that could change the galaxy forever. Ethan gripped the controls, determined. "Hang on, Lyra, I won't fail you. I promise." The galaxy stretched endlessly around Ethan as he piloted the hovercraft through the asteroid belt. The stars glittered cold and distant, but inside the small craft, the weight of silence pressed down on him. Lyra lay beside him, her small body still, her glowing eyes dimmed from the battle on the moon. Ethan's hands trembled on the controls. "I promised I'd protect you," he whispered, gripping her hand. It was so small, so fragile. "I won't fail you." The memory of her sacrifice burned in his mind. How she had risked everything to save him from the alien fleet. How her glow had lit the darkness like a tiny sun. He had never met anyone or anything so brave. And he knew that the galaxy would never be the same for him again. The hovercraft shuddered as a nearby asteroid grazed its hull. Ethan swerved, cursing under his breath. He had to find a safe place for Lyra to rest. He scanned the holographic map, searching for a quiet, hidden planet where they could regroup. Finally, he found it: a small green world, untouched and silent, orbiting a distant star. Its atmosphere was breathable, the gravity gentle. He guided the craft toward the surface. As he landed in a small clearing surrounded by tall, alien trees, a sense of relief washed over him. Ethan carefully lifted Lyra from the seat, cradling her in his arms. She stirred slightly, her faint glow returning. "Ethan?" she whispered, her voice weak but alive. "I'm here," he said softly, setting her down on the soft grass. "You're safe now." Lyra blinked up at him, her large, glowing eyes filled with trust and curiosity. I thought I couldn't make it," she murmured. "You did," Ethan said, kneeling beside her. "You saved both of us." "You were amazing, Lyra." The alien girl smiled faintly, her glow growing warmer. "I wanted to protect you," she said. I don't know if I'm strong enough for the galaxy, but I'll try." Ethan placed a hand on her small shoulder, feeling her warmth. "You are strong, stronger than anyone I've ever met. And you're not alone anymore. We face this galaxy together." Lyra's smile grew brighter. "Together," she whispered, her voice filled with hope. For the first time in days, Ethan allowed himself to relax. The danger wasn't gone, he knew that. But in that moment, he understood something essential. Humanity, in its courage, compassion, and determination, could inspire hope in even the most unlikely places. A human had saved an alien child, and in return, she had changed him. Hours passed as they rested beneath the alien trees. Ethan kept watch, scanning the skies, but Lyra slept peacefully beside him, her glow soft and steady. He thought of all they had faced: the desert, the predators, the alien fleet, and even betrayal. And yet, here they were, alive, together, and ready to face whatever came next. When Lyra awoke, she reached for Ethan's hand. "I want to see the stars," she said softly. Ethan helped her stand, and together, they walked to a hilltop. The galaxy stretched above them, glittering and infinite. Lyra's eyes reflected the starlight, and she laughed softly, a sound like wind through crystal. "You see," Ethan said, smiling, "there's so much out there, and it's all ours to explore." Together, Lyra looked up at him, her glowing eyes full of wonder. Then, for a brief, perfect moment, she gave him her last smile, the one that carried trust, courage, and hope. It was a smile that said, "We will survive, we will fight, and we will change the galaxy together." Ethan felt his chest tighten. That smile was more powerful than any weapon, more inspiring than any fleet. It reminded him why humans could endure, why they could protect, and why, even in the darkest corners of space, hope could shine brighter than the stars themselves. As night fell on the alien world, Ethan and Lyra stood together, facing the galaxy. Somewhere out there, enemies still lurked. Challenges would come. Danger would rise again. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. The stars twinkled silently, bearing witness to a human and an alien child who had faced the impossible and survived. And in that vast galaxy, one small smile had already begun to change everything.